So
Riot.
I want to give you kind of like a overview of how things are right now, to kind of give you a general, skeleton of the business.
Okay.
First and foremost, I just transparently, I don't give a fuck about the money. I don't give a fuck about anything else. I just want the shit to hit the streets so that it can be used to fucking gun down justices. But it's actually that simple. And you know what? Cops while we're at it. And,
all right, sounds fair.
And it may seem pretty simpleton, right? But it's just kind of like, maybe my expression of being at wit's end. Now, that doesn't mean that I would like to be foolish about it, because that's just not mentally stimulating,
Exactly. Also, check the Glevy when you have a chance.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
So very early on, I recognize that the need is going to be insurmountable. I've been in this kind of business a lot in the past. Oftentimes, even, holy shit, the water's wild. Oftentimes, and including, having to be like supply everything, like literally everything. So the problem set is not as challenging as it used to be in the past. Well, okay, it is and it isn't. The first problem set is as follows, and I'm just going to speak rather plainly about it, is let's just say the arbiter of who's involved in what has given everyone and their mother something, right? Now, that creates a challenge, because what it means is I'd say 70% of the criminal world thinks they know how shit works, right? And I'm not trying to say that like in any pompous way. I'm sure you've seen it, right? You're in the moonshine business. I'm sure some dumb fuck who's like picked up rotten fruit before thinks that they know your entire business. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
So there's going to be that challenge. The second challenge is, and I suspected this was going to happen right off the bat, but not as bad as it turns out, is that everybody wants these class 2s for literally everything. Everything. Now, I want to draw back to my motivator, right? I don't care about the money. I don't care about anything else. But these things are being used to kill each other. It seems like not even, like, to the cops to a degree, but not very much towards the system that I'm trying to, like, outrage against, So, and so, and this addiction, let's call it, right? Has resulted in the demand for these things to be skyrocketing. Next problem set. I think shotguns are dead. I don't think everyone wants the ARs. In fact, so much so that some of the better ones are more desirable. In other words, people want the most powerful shit, even if it costs 20-30% more, right? And it's to kill each other, and then they kill each other, and then the cops take it, and so the demand is just insane, right? So there doesn't become much room to actually, so much effort is put into just supplying an endless appetite that the reason I do this starts to get eclipsed, right?
I see.
So now I knew some of this was going to happen, because this is what's happened in the past, right? Groups get access to more powerful things. that becomes the only thing that they're going to want. Some of it for obvious reasons, right? If one gang's got pistols, the other gang's going to want ARs, right? It just you're going to need that to just match power. But knowing all this, I very early on created a entire network for the finances. That stuff is more or less handled at this stage. It's taken a couple weeks to get in a good spot, but the tabulation, the money movement, etc., is very complex, and that means that the ease of exchange of money, easy. Then there's a second part, which is now in a pretty good spot, is locales. The entire network is structured in a way where the money, the manufacturing, the material acquisition, everything is so segmented. It's kind of working like a cell, so to speak, you know? And the reason for that is simple, right? Let's say tomorrow, just as an example, I just make up an example here. Like, you go do a money pickup for Prodigyrp, right? Let's say you just happen to want to go pick up briefcases. If you got caught up in that, it doesn't matter. You just literally are picking up money. There is no tie. There is no, like, connection, right? Other than speculation as to what it is for and how it is going to play out. And there's two reasons for that, right? One is safety, right? You know, I don't give a shit about myself. I don't want anyone I'm working with to get caught up, right? Otherwise, I'm not doing my job. But the second is it keeps the operation running. Now that everything is in place, financially, etc., and there are loads of different sources for the material coming in, and I've worked with the supply chain to ensure that the core components are more durable. Because I was dealing with, like, how familiar are you with manufacturing right now? You mentioned something about ammo.
Yeah, I work with ammo. I don't do the manufacturing. I kind of just do pickups or drop-offs for them.
Okay. So I'll give you some insight. The process is pretty straightforward. There are these components. I believe these components used to be so people used to pick up shit off the cargo ship. Eventually, the authorities, they got a little too, the military came in, started to inspect these ships a little bit more. So as such, like, the smuggling of these things eventually reduced into components. Magazine components, bullet, like, fucking, you know, like, bullet, fucking, you know, what is it called? Like, gunpowder, right? Well, these components used to deteriorate in about a week's time, right, before they go bad.
Okay.
One thing that I've been doing, and I kind of see this as a bit of my role, is I've got my thumb, I got my, like, finger on the pulse of a lot of this, and some of that is going back to the let's just call it, for lack of a better word, let's just call it the blueprint handlers. You know what I mean? And their components have now, as of this week, they last for about a month.
Wonderful.
And what that has solved, and if you think about what I've been kind of explaining logically, right, is someone puts in a multi-million-dollar order. We need to get that cash. We need to secure it first, right? That's like, so you make a phone call. That could take a day, 2 days, 3 days, right? Who fucking knows when people are around? And then you have to exchange that money, right? Until you have the money, what are you gonna pre-manufacture shit so it starts breaking? No, you can't, right? Then you gotta fulfill that order, which requires acquisition of up to $250,000 material, to give you perspective.
Okay.
And now you gotta go hand that shit over, right? Now imagine these components used to break in a week's time. By the time you have the components, which is in and of itself a transaction, you might be like having to speed run manufacturing. 2 weeks wasn't even enough, I'll tell you that. But now that they're up to a month, the system that we have in place right now effectively allows orders to come in and things to be made in about a turnaround of about 48 hours, right? Manufacturing time can take a while, and orders go anywhere from like 100 to 200 at a time.
Okay.
Every week or two. And this is a supply going out to 8 different crews in the city. We haven't even had the fucking chance to go beyond that number. So,
Okay.
any questions? I want you to be able to kind of like visualize the structure, so that, you know, as conversation kind of comes up, you kind of have a visualization of how this is all kind of laid out. Feel free to ask any like inquisitory questions.
No, right now I see the process and the business, so it's nothing out of the ordinary that I haven't dealt with before.
All right, good shit.
Just a different product.
Now, as time has gone on, I've come to the realization that logistically, I have to limit the amount of, let's say, first stage distributors down to, I'd say, 3. The reason that 3 is, it's like a pyramid, right? And you know, you need to give to the one, which then distributes to the others. What they end up making, what the fuck is that on the left?
Cargo?
Oh, is that the cop? Wait, what? Wait, it moves? I mean, yeah, of course it moves.
Yeah.
It's a ship.
Yeah, it's never in the same place from what I've been told.
That is interesting. As time is going on logistically, right? The amount of steps, the amount of timeline, right? I'm looking at it kind of like a project management sheet, and I'm like, there's just too many. Each group that needs to be worked with is just in and of itself its own project, right? It's got its own timeline. Got to, you know, take the orders, got to make the order, got to separate it, got to get the money from. It just makes it very convoluted. And so I've been slowly moving towards that 8 becoming about 3. And of the ones that have the inclination to not just consume for themselves, because some of these groups will. Like, I got one guy, and he's a good guy. He just transparently, he wants things like multiple, like every week, if not every 5 days, right? And half of it's going to his crew, half of it he's selling. And while that's all like fine and dandy, that only works if I'm in it for the money, right? The problem is it's not getting into other people's hands. So that's not necessarily a candidate I lean towards. Some of the other candidates are much more forward thinking, where they're asking for more and they're doing their damnedest to make sure these things get into the hands of others. And that's kind of my goal, right? That people are not left out. I much rather see this stuff in the hands of everybody rather than in the hands of the few, right?
Right.
So this is where Project R comes into play, in my mind. Logistically, having Project R, if they are interested, moving everything is unrealistic, simply because there'd be too much. Maybe one day, who knows? I could be wrong, right? But I think that Project R handling, I'm gonna say, listen, Jason, I want to see blood on the street. I want to get some of this equipment pretty much duty free into their hands. And they use it to cause a ruckus. Like, get it in the hands of, like, I don't know, some crews in a spectacular way. You kind of understanding my drift here a little bit?
Yes. Yes.
Now,
and I know last weekend you did ask me to think of a creative way to reach out to Prodigyrp. And I think I have come up with at least one way of doing that.
okay.
Would be with the boats. I just want a boat so much. But anyway, with the boats and getting Tony to meet us at the cove, and by us, you don't need to be there, but having a meeting with Tony at the cove. Oh, let me back up like a couple steps. With the ammo, I was given a code name, so I'm just going to become that code name for this as well. And meet with him under that one code name. That way, if he like has ammo stuff as well, I can just be that person for him. And meet with him in the cove, tell him what we're doing. I don't know what you want me to exactly offer him, but do it something like that, very dramatic.
I like it. I like that a lot. And I think that I think we start with a number like 10 to 20 of these and see how he functions, right? And then I want you to tell me what we need. Now, transparently, these things are 45 for the simple AKs, 55 for the bigger ones, and these prices, mind you, might skyrocket literally in a week or two. Because apparently SMGs are hitting the street soon. Keep that close to your chest. Like, that shit can't get out. And the... let's call it the console, is likely going to want to see a price hike in the ARs to make room for the SMGs. However, that doesn't, while things are where they are, I think we can, as long as we're getting the 45 per or the 55 per, whatever it is, however he wants to dice it is good. In fact, you know what? Fuck it. You know, let me do it 10K less, but he needs to sell for 45, 55. Here's the danger, right? And just to be fully transparent, is it would be done at a loss, right? If I did that. But because it's going to bring more chaos, let's call it, I'm willing to take the loss. However, if he ended up selling below market price or some shit, or that number came out, it would fuck the entire market up. You get what I'm saying? People are going to be like, oh my God, yes. I got it for 38. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, unless you think we just keep it at the 45, 55 and let him, you know what? Let's do that. Let's keep it at the 45, 55 and worry about price reductions at volume or like at a loss at a later point, just because to keep it simple, maybe.
It's easier to reduce the price in the future than to raise it.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Okay.
Now, within Project R, there is the more vetted group of Redline. Would you want this to be...
I think you should approach directly Tony.
What? Right. Well, Tony, he heads both of them.
Oh, I see.
So Project R is like the mechanics and the race crew. And then Redline is just the race crew, and they're just vetted a bit more.
I see. I would say that's a Tony decision.
Okay.
Or like, you know, however you want to chop it up. But I would say that I would recommend limiting your conversations to Tony. And the reason I say that is Tony's my brother, right? I'll fucking do whatever for him. But the problem with the racing scene, and Redline's been very loyal. It's the longest running racing crew in the city for years. But races come with drama. I'm not saying that there's drama today, but all it takes is one of his races getting pissed over some bullshit and trying to fuck him over, and in turn possibly fucking you over. So in relation to risk management, it's probably best that you maintain a separation, you know, for your own sake.
Yes, of course, of course.
Some guy takes the line the wrong way, and they're like, end up holding you up. You know, you never fucking know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. As sort of time goes on, if you have ideas, I am very open to it. I'll say one other thing, just rather transparently, and Michael knows this as well. I don't know how long I'm going to remain in this game. And specifically, I mean, helping keep the streets flooded with the AIs. I might get demotivated if I don't see enough bloodshed eventually. Like, in other words, if the purpose starts to wane. And so...
And I think I can help with that as... not directly, but I know enough people in enough different groups where I can be like, you know, cops did this. Why aren't we fucking with them? DOJ keeps passing these stupid things. Why aren't we fucking with them? And just causing a little bit of chaos behind the scenes as well.
Yes. Good. I love this.
Like, you know, when, who was it? Ventura and I don't remember the other one's name, wrote the stupid VAF law. And I'm like, why are you guys mad at the cabinet? It was Ventura and this other one that wrote that law. Why aren't you mad at them? And
were they actually mad at the cabinet?
They were just mad. Everybody was just kind of mad in general. So just redirecting that to the correct places is what I've been doing for a bit now.
That is good. That is perfect. I think
when the times and fines were absolutely ridiculous, and people are like, well, blah blah blah. I'm like, why? Go after the judges. You see the judge? Go after him. Go after DOJ. Go after the cops. Stop fighting amongst yourself. There's bigger fish.
Yeah, that is the right way. The reality too is, and it's not that anyone's fault. Most people don't recognize how the system works, and so they. I agree with that. Direct their energy in the proper direction.
Yes. Yes.
I think even beyond that, as this sort of manifests itself, this Project R thing, if you want to start expanding out to more, and we expand this system, I see you as like running a cell, so to speak. I hate to make this derivative, but it's the best way to describe it, right? I want to nurture your cell growing. And so even if one day I decide I am no longer interested in the day-to-day manufacturing operations, that cell can hopefully become its own. So that's where I'm logically going with things, right? Is
right.
So
you'll also be probably seeing another business proposal come through for Humane Global. Won't be under my name, but I am a big part of it.
Oh, okay. Very good. Probably the sooner you send it, the better.
It should be today or tomorrow.
Okay. Easy. Obviously, involve who you wish with this, as long as my name sort of remains out of it, right?
Always.
And transparently, I am hoping that this council of individuals, or whatever the fuck, who makes these decisions about how things are moving around, I'm hoping that one day these things start to coalesce. I'm going to be honest with you. Having magazines, guns, and pistols all separated out is kind of foolish, if I'm going to be honest. Like, you should have access to everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or any one of these other cells. It's what is your been experience? Do you think I'm off a little bit with that opinion?
I can see both sides. It would definitely make it easier if everything was together and you can put together a package deal and be like,
yeah,
a gun, some ammo, some mags for whatever price.
Yeah.
But I can also see, with it being split out, giving multiple groups purpose.
That is true. Wait, what the fuck?
And I know Redline doesn't have anything. They don't have anything, so I think reaching out to them and giving them some sort of purpose as well is not a bad thing.
Yeah. Agreed. And that's the one thing that oh, give me one sec. Oh. Sorry about that. Yeah. And that's something I really want to do desperately, because I think too many people have not been able to get their hands on things because, you know, the top, let's say 1% has been eating it all. Not their fault, right? If people are going to eat, they're going to eat, but it just means, you know, less for everyone else.
Well, even before moving to the city, I've always said idle hands are a devil's tool, and
Yes.
I'll be their devil. And so this really expands on that. And people have come to know and trust me. And I know this is more of me behind the scenes, not presenting myself in the normal way that I would. But I have gained rapport with many people, many groups within the city. And I think people know that I can be trusted to keep my mouth shut when it needs to be shut and to let the right information out when it needs to be.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
I think we can make something really big out of this. I think we can do something good for us, maybe not so good for the police and DOJ.
Yes, precisely that. I think from a broader perspective, I think the government, even with Grayson and Tony, hopefully running, getting both counties, the reality of the matter is, I think the government has failed. And there is a desperate need for another force to maintain order. And, you know, there are those, like, there are entities that I think have tried to do that. I just don't think it's working. And I am hoping whatever this becomes and the partners related with it maybe start to make those needs. I mean, look at yesterday's conversation with Sama. Now, don't get me wrong. Harry sounded like she was beginning to open up. But, oh, actually, I'm going to show you something. Harry did start to open up. However, she might not be there in 2 weeks. And when I sat in that room, I couldn't help think the question, why do the marshals, do these people in this room, are they actually okay with ignoring someone because they
are
think they
not
can do
okay.
it better?
I have a story for you that happened yesterday after the meeting. Gigi and I went to go review the samples at Humane Lab. Danger, is our head of security for Humane Labs, and he had one other security person with him. As we were leaving Humane Labs, we heard a helicopter. And we're like, well, that's weird. That's not okay. So, security pulled their gun, was like, in the cars, let's get you guys out. Let's make sure you're safe. It's BCSO and the Marshals with Air One.
Oh.
They detain us.
Huh.
And
what?
Start asking us all sorts of questions. They separate us, start questioning us. Jenna Mustard was the one questioning me. She did some funny things. Like, she didn't read me my rights until after she asked me what my name was and what I was doing there and all of that. And then she read me my rights. It was the same marshal that was at that meeting yesterday.
Richard Doc.
The other one that went with Dr. Perry when she left.
The baby marshal. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, you were the same marshal at the meeting that I was at earlier, where we were talking about all of this. And he's like, yeah, I know, but Dr. Perry was kidnapped, so we have to look for her. And this was just one of the places we were looking.
What?
Yes.
Lawsuit. You gotta sue him.
So, and they, what were we doing? Like,
what
they
the
checked
fuck?
the cars. I don't know why they just didn't let us go after they realized we didn't have her.
So they I don't understand. Are they stupid? Okay, the answer is yes. But so
yes.
She might be kidnapped here, therefore detain someone random based on what? What's the reasonable suspicion?
Exactly. We were leaving, and it's just security pulled their guns because we heard helicopters and we didn't know who it was. There's so many groups with helicopters now. It could have been any one of them.
Wait, I'm sorry. What was because of the helicopter? What was that?
Yeah, so we heard the helicopter as we were getting back to the parking bay at Humane Labs.
Yeah.
So security pulled their guns just to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they realized it was the police, they put them away.
Mm-hmm.
And they still detained us. They looked through the cars. We obviously didn't have Dr. Perry, but they still continued questioning us.
I personally think that I would have each and every one of y'all file. You should do a collective lawsuit. And the reason I say that is, and this is, I always push it when it comes to this, is that it's the only means by which to keep these people in check. Because if they're, based on the reactions yesterday, oh my God, this is water levels very low here. All right, hold on. Okay. All right. Based on the reaction of Dark yesterday, you are sus for God knows what reason. For no logical, reasonable reason. Other than you don't have like an MDT tag. Like if I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what it felt like to me. And it was just actually, you know what's a better way? You're an other. You ever see the TV show Lost?
A little bit.
Oh, like things like that where you're not in the trust circle, therefore you're suspicious, right? And that trust circle is a cop or a doctor, right? And so in my mind, it's hard for me not to imagine that a part of their calculus yesterday when they made that decision was, there's Jaycn, this is Humane Labs, they did this. And while that sneaking feeling in the back of their mind might be reasonable, right? You know, like maybe they're thinking, well, Jaycn was so pissed yesterday, right, over the meeting, they're going to kidnap, right? What's her name, right?
Right.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But you can't just start fucking detaining people over like a fucking theory like that, right?
Right. I mean, and I mean, they're not wrong, but I'm not going to kidnap Dr. Perry. That's the only thing they're wrong about.
Are you gonna mark her?